Hi, everyone. We are here with the famous Donna Dewberry. I'm really excited about tonight because we're going to be having her show us all about the one stroke basics. And I'm so excited about um, all of this because there's so many of you who are new to painting and new to one stroke and new to our group. And so Donna and I discussed it, and we thought that it's just perfect timing for her to do this type of a lesson. And I'm going to spotlight Donna, and she's going to tell you a little bit about a special offer that she has this month. And then we'll get started. And then while she's telling you about that, it will give you all a few minutes to get here. So take it away, Donna.
Okay. Um, this isn't just for this month. This is for Debbie Cole's site for creative innovations in painting and for you guys who are watching. So it's not publicized any other way. It's just going to be for you guys. And I'm excited to share with you. The one thing I teach my one-strokers over the years is they would go to the conventions and they would go. They knew they weren't beginners because they've been painting with me for a few years. But if you go into any different technique than what you already feel comfortable in, we're all beginners. Beginners if I go into watercolor, I'm a beginner if I go into oils. So I just want you to know if you haven't done this technique, but you feel like, oh, I told paint, so I know what I'm doing. I know how to float. I know how to stroke. I'm doing one stroke is a lot of stroke work. And so I load my brush different. I do a lot of things different than you might see out there. So the one thing that's important and that's worked for me like it's unbelievable is it's fun to be able to be on your site, Debbie, and be able to share with everybody, some different feels and looks of one stroke. But if you go to my YouTube channel, you're going to see every week I do a relax and paint, just a fun little project like for the day. Take a deep breath, just paint this quick little thing. And then I address different, technique with that's simple, fun, and relaxing. And we put it on all kinds of surfaces because of the paint I use. And then I've got this mass amount of people on YouTube saying, ma'am, help me know where to start. So where you get to start is step by step by step. I'm going to show you today how I address that. But on my Fridays at noon, every week I do practice strokes and I give you homework and you just do a little 10-minute little quickie. Let me show you how to do this leaf. And so what I wanted to share with you tonight is something that I put together for those who said, give me something to do that would make sense for me. So I'm going to go to my overhead camera and you're going to see my messy table here, but I have so much stuff on here. I want you to see the special that I have. Oops, not my shirt. All right. I can't move my video world people or pen. Okay. Can you see that, Miss Debbie? It says I can't move. Can they see that?
It looks beautiful. I can see your brushes and I can see your stroke page
Oh,
and your
no,
once.
a note popped up and said that I can't move the camera. So I don't know.
Oh,
But
it looks well. It's perfect.
okay. So this is what I have, guys. I have a couple of things that I want to share with you. Now I'm going to demonstrate and work through this, but I just wanted you to see and practice with me tonight. Just have a 3/4 inch brush, a 12 brush if you have one. I have a 2 script liner and I have one of my scruffy brushes that I'm going to demonstrate. But what I wanted you to see that's available, this is a $79.95 kit that my husband said that we could take $20 off for you guys if you're in this class. So it'd be $59.95. But let me tell you what you're going to get. You're going to get 8 of the multi-surface paints that I used. All right, which is exactly what it says. Folk art multi-surface, lots of different surfaces, glass, metal, canvas, wood, outdoor, indoor. It's got a sealer in it. And then you're going to get a 2 ounce, not this 8 ounce, but a 2 ounce floating medium because you're going to see me use that a lot. All right, you get a sponge. I do a lot of sponge work for backgrounds. All right, so what happens in here is this packet that I'm going to be using. So there's a whole packet full of stroke sheets, just like this, and they're in this practice sleeve. So that's what the packet comes in, and you paint right on top of here. So I'm going to show you all those different ones while we're practicing tonight. And then you're going to get 2 practice mats. See this? 2 practice mats you can lay right on top of my work, practice on here, wipe it off and practice again. And it's got a slick side. So you're going to use that slick side. You get 2 of those. And if you have a book, one of my books by chance, you can open the book, lay this on top of it, and it lays the book flat so you can practice my strokes there too. You're also going to get a complete DVD of doing the same, all these different worksheets. You're going to do them in here. So you have this that you can play over and over. And you're going to have my 10 brush set, my value pack of Donna Dewberry Folk Art One Stroke brushes. So we have multiple flats, 2 script liners, a little and a 1 and a 2. And we have a small scruffy and a larger scruffy, a 1/4 inch and a 3/4 inch, and my 3/4 inch brush. The only thing that you're not getting in this that I use a lot is a 16 flat. Okay. So you're going to get all of this how-tos that I'm going to share with you tonight. The sponge, the brush set, the DVD for $59.95 plus shipping. So, and Debbie's going to tell you how to get that in a few minutes. But the last thing I want to share with you before we talk about more is that I have a tool set. And I want to share with you the tool set's on special for $31.95 for y'all. And what you're going to get is not a dirty brush basin, but I'm sorry, I was going to clean it. But you're going to get my brush basin, which we really rake in here a lot. When you hear me, see this? We need that space, a big space, not a small basin with 1 stroke, because we use bigger, larger brushes a lot. All right. And then this also is a palette that I have in the set. So for $31.95, you're going to get all this. And I'll tell you what the cost is in this, is that this is for foam plates. And I use a lot of foam plates when I'm practicing. This holds my paper towel. You can put floating medium and water in there if you're standing at an easel. This also holds all your brushes when you're standing at an easel. Or I just put this on the table. But also, that's my palette. Here's my double loader. Here's just the price. This alone is $19.95. So it's kind of like you're getting the base and the palette almost free. But this is what we're going to work with. I can put this here, right here, and drop it in when I'm working up at the easel. This double loader has helped so many people be able to double load and not have a problem, because it kind of controls you. And that's what we're going to use tonight. And I use this on every Friday's lesson. Then I have floating medium in the middle, because I hate when it's on the foam plate and it blends into all my colors. But this is also if you're using fabric paint and different kinds of specialty paints that are like a gel and they move around. And then I have to throw my fabric paint away. This keeps this paint from running into each other. So that's really wonderful. And then if I squeeze this out like I did earlier today, then I have a top where you wet the sponge. See that? And you can put a copper penny here if there aren't any left. And a little lady told me that. And you close it off, and then you can pop this right on top, and it will keep it. I've had people say they go 30 days. I use my paint up right away. But like I said, I was able to close it up after a class or close it up when I was getting ready for this class. So that's special. All 3 of those pieces are $31.95. Okay, I'm done. I'll remind y'all later about this, but Debbie was putting where you put my email or something so they can get a hold of me.
I put your email up in the post so everyone can see it, so we don't have to retype it. So it's in the very top of the post, and I'll be able to see that when we're done. But I do have to ask you before you get started, why the copper penny? What does that do? Does it stop it from molding?
It keeps it from molding. Do you know
That's
that?
awesome.
I didn't know that, but I don't know if there's copper in our pennies anymore, but she was like 89 years old. And she told me this, and I found out that it does. It doesn't, like it. I would never go 30 days. I have some teachers that tested it, and the paint stayed moist, but you don't get that smell, musky, smell. So anyway, that was
Wonderful.
I like it when they teach me tips.
You are so creative. I love the double loader. It's just amazing. Very creative.
Double loaders. The true fact I want y'all to know at Plaid is that we did a test market years ago. And this is my 25th year with Plaid. And years ago, or last year was, we did 100 people, test market of 100 people. And I created with Peter Russo this, I called him and I said, I want a color wheel and I want medium holder in the middle and I want this and I want that. And he said, okay, we can do that. So we tested it because what is the biggest problem with people trying to get one stroke and be able to do it is loading. And
Mhm.
so we had 100 people, 80 of them, that was their problem, loading. So after I taught them on this and they used that, 20% had a problem with double loading. So that was the difference it made. Absolutely flipped the scale, and it's made a huge difference. And it's kind of because I'm kind of controlling you and making you stay right there and not make a muddy mess all over your palette.
I'm so excited. Well, I think we can get started. We've got about 110 people here so far.
Oh, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, y'all ready?
Yeah.
I've already talked way too much.
You have to switch back though, so we can all see your hands.
Okay, I will.
Okay.
Okay, I'm excited to have you here. And if you're just watching tonight, just remember you can rewatch. And if you get the video, you have all this on there. And remember, paint with me and then go look at some of those practice strokes on YouTube. All right, so what I'm gonna do first, I'm gonna put away some of this kit product here. I like to work on on black sometimes because it pops. Look how these colors pop on here. All right, these are some of the sheets that are inside. And I'm just gonna pick a couple so that you understand what's important about getting started and what you need to know. And the leaves are always important. We're gonna do a little vine with wisteria. And I have to show you, I still can't believe I did this, but with my rose, I never put the dark on the outside of the rose. So, but being on white paper, I was worried that you couldn't see. So this is just to get your stroke and be able to see your stroke actual size. But this is what I want you to think about. You always want the dark inside of the flower because with one stroke painting, you blend shade and highlight as you go, but you need the darkness. See, there's no depth in this, but this let you see very well how to build the flower. And I always put numbers so you know which stroke to do next. And whether you're a lefty or righty, I'm going to show you something that helps you. But I'm going to just first thing, let's do a little rosebud and do this petal here. And then we're going to do a vine, put some rosebuds and some wisteria tonight. All right. So that shows you a few different brushes and a quick way to do this. All right. So like I said, everything's also in a video that's going to go over each little thing in this entire packet, which I'm not going to show you all of those right now. We're just going to get started with those few I just told you about. All right. So I can practice also on this sheet. And one of the things I can do is put it right here. And let's open up our palette. All right. And the one thing that's really important is that you realize that we do not paint with water. We don't load our brush. We don't have water in our brush. And let me show you how we do this. All right. So I'm going to put this right underneath. And these are practice mats. You get 2 of them inside the kit. All right. So I am going to start with a 3/4 instead of a 12 because you can see your strokes when you're learning. You're going to see your strokes a lot better when you are using a larger brush. All right. And believe it or not, the larger brush helps you not have ridges. I thought, I was pretty naive in the beginning. I thought ridges look good because it's kind of like textured oil. But when I went to my first tool show, they went, I don't want ridges. And I went, really? I was pretty naive. I didn't know why. So I wet my brush at first, and then I just barely dry it like this. Make sure that there's no water left. But I don't want you to wrench this brush. If you're a newbie, that's going to pull the bristles out of the brush. So I'm just going to lay it here and take off the excess moisture. The only brush that you're going to be using water with is your script liner. All right. And I want to then show you that we're going to come over here. Let's look at this loading process. Now, what's going to happen, which people are surprised I do, but it doesn't hurt this brush. And people worry This is synthetic nylon, works beautiful. My 3/4 and my 12s are different than a 12 that you might have. All right. So most of the other 12s are thicker in the bristles. This is a thinner bristle, but my bristle, and this is too, so I can spring and move and accomplish what I'm trying to, but they're also trying to paint, but also they're a little bit longer. Okay, a little bit longer, very thin chisel. So if you don't have a good chisel, you can't start, we start and end on a chisel. So if you don't have a thin chisel, guys, you're not going to get a nice stroke. All right, so we're not painting. We're not painting. Painting is like painting the wall, base coating something. We're stroking what we're doing. All right. So that's the difference. So I want you to think about that, which means you have to have pressure and lift, pressure and lift. And if you just push this brush down and pull, that's painting. I want you to stroke. All right. So this is what we're going to do first. We're going to go in between and split this in between the two colors. So it splits the brush, and then I'm going to go here and in another cubby here, and I want to go quickly and with pressure. I'm going to go work it in, work it in, work it in. Okay. Now, by keeping it here, I'm only got a runway of like 2 inches instead of all over my plate. I can see people with all over the plate. And I said, "Oh, you're an oil artist?" And they go, "Oh, how'd you know?" Because there's dabs all over the plate. All right. So I want you to see that I've loaded the brush. All right. Let me know, Debbie, if you have any questions. All right. Then I'm going to grab a little bit more this time. And this time I'm not going to push as hard. I'm going to go less because now I want to get the face of the brush with the color I want. Now, I'm not worried if it gets up into the ferrule, and I know some of you do worry about that, because when it starts getting dark in the ferrule, I need to clean that paint out. But right now, it doesn't hurt anything with what I'm doing, okay? So we come here. Now, if I'm on paper, I would go and use some floating medium, but we're not. We're not on the dry paper now. We're practicing on the plastic mat, practicing mat. So think about that when we're getting started. And as we're stroking, I'm going to come back to the stubble loader and show you when I get more paint. All right. So the first thing that I want you to think about when you're practicing this is there's 3 P's in one stroke. You have to have the right paint, enough paint on here. You have to have pressure. And so let me share with you, when I say half sprung, my brush and the density of my bristles spring up. So if I'm here and I stay here, a lot of people stay up on the chisel and try to do this. It's like a nervous shake. That's not what we want. All right. So it doesn't blend well. It's already blended well because I already blended it before in my palette. But you have to have a wet eraser at all times. And then you go on here and you just wipe them off. Okay. So that's up on the chisel, and this is too much. You see this? When I smush it down like this and I crank it around, you have a muddy mess there. That's not what we want to do. All right. So to control the stroke, let me show you what we are going to do. I'm going to flatten this brush again. Okay. Now watch what happens. I'm going to start here and I'm going to be half sprung. I told you 2 P's so far. So let's finish the pressure, which is the second P. So it's not up here. It's not squished, but it's halfway, half sprung. Are you with me? No chisel, no smushed. I don't want to do that, mess it up, but I want it half sprung. So halfway between chisel and flat. Then I'm going to start scrubbing. It's a scrubbing motion. Your fingers are doing this. So I start scrubbing. I support my little finger to help me stay where I want to stay. And then all I want you to think about is pulling this brush where I want it to go. All right. And that movement is not a nervous shake. It's not standing here and barely moving, because then you get these little nervous shakes. I want you to go like this and pull so you get a nice wave. Okay, and that's how we get our petals. So this takes a little bit of practice. And like I said, I'm going to be like this. The white is up here, and it's giving you this pretty stroke for doing the shell stroke. Does that make sense? All right, so I'm going to wipe this off because let me tell you something. The beauty of this paint is what? It's got a sealer in it. The beauty of that is it dries really good and doesn't come off. Okay, so I've got some on here that I didn't get off fast enough. And if I keep scratching that, I'm going to wreck my plastic. So I needed to make sure that I wipe it all off. That's the beauty of it. We want it to not come off when we want it on some surface that we're putting it on. But if you don't stop and wipe this off with your little eraser, then you can have a problem. Okay, so the third P is, let me show you. So remember, we have enough paint in it. We have the pressure. The third P is that we are going to have the position of the handle of the brush. All right, so watch this. If I'm doing this shell and I have the brush laying down, can y'all see my position? It's kind of laying down. If I do this and I'm trying to come around, I'm not getting the nice blend here. And when I end, sometimes I have to come up and turn. All right. So if I have, and I've done a lot of work from here, trying to get the leaf and I'm turning and trying to get up to, so I've done all of this work that you just saw me do. So now let me show you what happens. Look here again. I'm getting paint, I'm flattening the brush because guess what? My inside of my brush is already loaded well. If I flip around and pick up the wrong color, I go to my paper towel, I wipe it off, I just grab a little bit more paint and flatten it and I'm ready to go again.
Donna, when you initially started loading the brush and you were blending it right there, do you use a lot of pressure as you're, or what type of pressure do you use as you're blending it and trying
Okay,
to get it to load?
okay. So first time I told you, let's go repeat that really quick. The first time we picked up a lot of paint and I worked it in fast and hard, pressure, really lots of pressure because I'm working it into the bristles. So if you go like that, if people say my bristles are splitting when I try stroking, it's because this isn't work. The paint's not inside the bristle. That's what's making this work for us. But as I was sharing this with you, I said I pick up a lot, I push really hard. Then it's inside my brush now. Now I want the face of this to be blended well. So at this point now, I pick up paint again and I have less pressure, just light pressure, and then I'm ready. Okay, so that's that process. All right, so now let me show you the same thing. Thank you for questions, guys. This stroke now, where I was doing that leaf, let me show you. I worked hard to do all that moving, but I want you to just steady your little finger. I hope I'm close enough for you. I want you to start to see my problem is the camera hits my brush. All right, 1, 2, 3 is a starter stroke. My handle is straight up and down. Let me move so I'm over here so you can, I gotta move the camera. I keep not wanting to move that. All right, so my handle, my brush, I'm half sprung. I start stroking and now all I have to do, if my brush handle's straight up and down, is pull this brush where I want it to go. And when I end it, all I do is slide and stand because it's the half pressure, half sprung, scrub, handle straight up and down. So I don't have to work. I just let the bristles work and stand up. All right. So that takes practice and for you to be comfortable with it. But I want you to know these little, please go back and listen to it and try it again when you get a chance to practice, because this makes the whole difference on it working for you. Okay. So let's just do this rosebud. I'm going to throw as many tips as I can as we're going, and anything Debbie asked me that would help y'all. All right. So you can use a 16 or a 12 when you're doing this, but we have a 12 and a 3/4 in here. All right, so the rosebuds first are I touch, and we're going from these 2 lines. There we go, 2 lines. We've got right here. And so I'm going to start on the first line. I put pressure, go up and over. Then, oh, I don't want to do that actually. I want the white up. I just did that on the white paper, remember? So I'm going to start here and go up and over. All right, now I've already blended and got a nice blend. I go back here. It's not showing though, is it? Okay, let's go back here. I pick up more paint. And if I need more white, I just dip the corner in the white and flatten it. All right, now I'm going to do the second stroke on this rosebud right here. Sorry, see that second stroke? I'm going to now put that second stroke on the exact same lines. I'm going to come down and up, and you should see a circle there with shading in. Now, this is what happens to many people. They go up and over, sometimes that much. All right, then they come down and they come like that and they have a hole. The second thing that happens when you get away and you don't have a practice sheet, many people go up and they turn, they think I'm turning, they forget that I'm not turning. And then they come here and they do this number. Okay, that's what everybody does, that or that, when they first start. All right, so I'd like to show you the right and the wrong, because then you'll see, because you might not see, what did I do wrong? How come it doesn't look like that, what Donna was sharing with me? All right, so let me show you again. This is also the inside of the rose. I'm keep moving the wrong paper, sorry. This is also what's inside the rose to get started. You do one layer, which we're not going to do that whole rose today. Then we put the shell, the rosebud, and then the first two strokes of a rosebud, and then we put a second row. All right. And I skipped something. Let me finish this, and then I want to share something with you. All I have to do now is come here a little bit lower and do a second U. See how I did the U and a second U? You just want it to come down so you see a layer, and then you can go right there. A little bit more white right there. And then I'm going to put some calyx around her, some little leaves. But look at the beautiful shading. It's got all the shading and everything. You can see inside, you can see depth. All right. So one little thing for lefties, I skipped, I forgot to tell you, because I do have lots of lefties that are having difficulty if they are not comfortable with this, is that I start as a righty on this side and go, and the lefties are just going to start over here, which is more comfortable for your hand to come the opposite way. But what I want you to understand is all left-handed people adapt to the right-handed world in different ways. Two people in my family are lefties. And so sometimes they turn their hand upside down to paint. They do all kinds of different, and to write. So the most important thing, and I teach this to my teachers all the time, is that we stand behind the person who has the same hand as we have to help them. And we stand in front of the student that has the reverse hand as us, because then I can hold it and do that left stroke. But the key is, if this is awkward and it doesn't work for you, try it the other way. So this is awkward for me to go against my wrist, but this is very easy for me. So whether you have to turn your worksheet around or whatever, make it easy for yourself, okay? Are we all okay about that part so far, the 3 Ps and loading?
I think so, Donna. I do have a question though, and this is from Debbie Cole. In regards to the multi-surface paints, if they should dry on the practice sheet, can you use like rubbing alcohol to take them off?
Yes, but this paint, yeah, rubbing alcohol is fine, but water takes it off. But the problem is on the plastic sheets, we don't want it to sit. And there's lots of things, what Awesome and some of these others, you could probably get it off. But I'm just saying it's so much smarter to do it as you go. I also have my one-stroke painting sponges. Sometimes I just have those wet and they have a little bit of texture. But when you start getting scratches on there, then your practice sheet doesn't help you as much. You know what I'm saying? I do, when I get through, I go and set these in the sink.
Okay.
And just like the palette, I can let that totally dry in my palette. And I left for Thanksgiving for 2 weeks, had HSN 6 of these full of paint from HSN quickie that we did before the holidays. And there was this garbage bag sitting there, I thought, and I went, oh my gosh, I left them in there for 2 weeks. I put them all in water and just let them sit for like 15 minutes and it all popped right off. But I want you to see that I used my Scruffy And after let it sit in water for a few minutes or spray it, I then just go around and scrub them with my scruffy, and it cleans them really quick. So
We have another question for you in regards to the second and the third strokes. Are they to the rosebud? Are they on an angle or are they straight across?
all right, so what's really important is that we have these two lines straight, and then these two lines guide your entire rosebud. So you put two lines, you stay with those two lines, see? And here we're still starting as high, not halfway down, as high as the first stroke started, and we do a U. Then for the second one, I go a little bit wider. I do on that one, let me show you really quick. I do on that one, come here a little bit like a gondola. I don't know how, I'm not saying that right, where I make a boat where it comes from there. This is more of an angle. Let me put paint back in there. All right, so I did this stroke. So then the next stroke I did come at an angle from there to there a little bit. All right, does that help you? I'm going to do some more rose beds on our vines, so I'll show you that again, and hopefully that'll help. All right, so
we've been averaging about 130 people. We have people from all over the world: New Zealand, Colombia, Australia,
welcome.
Multiple other countries too.
What I really like to share is so many people don't ship to other countries. We ship to other countries USPS. So you do pay whatever that cost is. Sometimes on our onestroke.com site, it doesn't correctly do for people in other countries the shipping. I mean, there's no way we can correct it on there, but if you contact our office, I just forward all those to Amanda, and she recalculates it if it looks like it's absorbent or crazy. But we do ship Canada and all these other places that the paint company will not ship to anymore. So that helps people a lot. So thank you for watching, guys. All right, so let's look at a vine and my wisteria a little bit. So I have inside this kit that I've been sharing with you. There's the 1/4 inch scruffy I created and the 3/4 inch scruffy. Now these are like a fluffy makeup brush, and there's two different languages and stuff that we have to put on the package. So I can't describe how to fluff the scruffy. So this is on the packaging. And I even have a middle size if you get my signature brushes that have the florals and all on them. The signature brushes, by the way, I tell people they start with the other one, the value packs, and then they go to these, and these are not clean, sorry. They're lavender and white, and then all the specialty brushes have a floral on them, on my roses, okay? Now, these are just all better bristles, just to let you know, and better handles and all. All right, so here's my 3 scruffies that we have right now. I always had a little small one and a grandpa one for walls, but these are the only ones that we have anymore. So what happens is we have to fluff these, and we absolutely do not wet these. And I'm going to show you how we use these. But if you don't fluff them, then they're never going to paint well. So some people pull them out of the package. Let me see if I got one out of the package. And it's kind of flat. So what they do that's kind of crazy is that they double load this and they try painting our strokes with this, like a flat brush. So we don't do that. All right. And then some people have been painting like that for a year. So what I do with this one's got something in it. All right. So what we found out, because there is sizing in this. Now, what helps you to fluff the scruffy properly is you can take and pounce into the water. Well, I don't want you painting ever with water in this brush. So I'm going to then take it and go to the ferrule and pinch it. And you pinch it, and all the water goes out of that scruffy. All right. So then I want to wreck the scruffy because I want it to be fluffy. And you might even lose some bristles at first because of the way they glue them. And I do this in the palm of my hand sometimes. And your goal is to get it to be an oval, like a makeup brush, but it's not as soft as a makeup brush. But this is real hair. Don't ask me what kind of hair, but this is real hair brush because they've used all kinds of hair from goats to other things. But this brush then is fluffed and ready to go. And you have to fluff it and all in between. And to clean this brush, because we don't want to rake natural hair, we're going to pounce in the bottom of the basin like this. And if the little bits of paint stay in the down here at the ferrule, that gets this brush where it's perfect. See, this one's got paint, I guess, down in there from me using it so much. Well, now it stays fluffy for me. All right. I know that might not make sense to you, but look, this one is perfect for my scruffy, for my sunflowers, for whatever I'm doing. But this big one and the little one and the dark green handle are inside my set, most used set. Okay, so let's go to our 12. I'm trying to throw a lot at you, so you're going to have to come back and watch this again. All right, so what we're going to do, oops, I didn't put my green out. What's important in here is that I put press and seal in here sometimes. You know, the kitchen wrap press and seal. I push it in the middle. I take my scruffy and I do it between each segment of press and seal in there. And when I'm all done, I just peel that press and seal and throw it away. But what's good about the press and seal is the paint doesn't start drying and chipping up and leaving pieces in your paint, your painting as you're using it. All right, so see, I'm going to squeeze those out. That's the sap green and citrus green. By the way, that was magenta and wicker white. Sorry. All right. So then I'm going to tap the bottom of it and it flattens it out. All right. Now, when you're using little brushes, like a 2 or a 6, I'm just going to tell you this because we probably don't have time to do all that today. But if I have, say, a 6, 12 or smaller, I might get, this is a really bad brush. It's all fluffy here. I might pick up all dark instead of trying to double load it traditionally. And I might come over here and just side stroke the second color. All right, because I did not like small painting. I would be on QVC saying, so this is a big brush. I'm going to show you how you paint, how you load with a little brush, because y'all won't be able to see it on TV. That was my excuse. But then I found out, oh, listen, if I do it like that, then it's easy to get a nice blend and looking double loaded. Okay, so that's just a little trick. You can see more of that type of stuff on my practice strokes. Okay, so now I've got my 12. 12 could be double loaded, like traditionally, or same thing. If I'm wanting it to be a real rich rose with lots of magenta, I would then can just side load white, depending on how much color blend we want. So I'm going to come between these two. Again, one thing I failed to say is we split the brush between the plastic ridge. And then we come here and do not have a ridge because some people slice it again and forget, split it again and think that's what I did. But I want you to see I'm not doing that. I'm getting here, I'm working it in really strong. I need a little bit more sap green. Do I have sap? Yes, sap green. Sometimes thick it. And with the paint shortage, we try, if we have to substitute, if we don't put violet pansy, we might put dioxazine purple. We're still going to put the colors that work because we had a shortage of sap green at Plaid. So we had like 400 bottles of thicket. So you might have got a thicket. All right. So now the brush is ready. Okay. Now let's practice this stroke. Now this is, I'm going to turn it sideways. This is like a slider leaf. And remember, we are going to practice on this sleeve to show you the same kind of thing. What happens when you put it in a sleeve or in the middle underneath here, it keeps you from messing up your worksheet, okay, if paint gets on it. All right, so I'm going to come over here. I'm going to stand up right here on this line. So remember I say you start on chisel, pressure, and we release pressure and slide to the chisel. So it's chisel, pressure, chisel. All right, now I'm at an angle. So if I'm here on this leaf, if I'm here on this leaf, I start on the chisel, pressure, because you don't get blending without pressure. Okay. And now I'm at this angle, but I'm sliding to this point. Okay. And if you go faster, it does better. But what I tell people is when you're first practicing, I want you to go very slow, cover the entire stroke, lift really slow, and then you can see the stroke. But actually, the quicker you are after this, the easier it is to do the stroke and the better your strokes look. All right, so we're blending, shading, and highlighting because we have pressure. No pressure, no blending. All right, so this is what I have. I have people that come just like this. See these two colors? And they come right here and they go like this. And when you go like that, I went over it twice. But normally they go like this, and that's what you get. See how it's not blended? It's not blended. You don't have that blending shading. If I put pressure and stand up, pressure, you're going to get a nice blend compared to that. Okay. All right, we're just being quiet tonight, guys.
Yeah, they just said that one person just said you helped her by showing that because that's what she's been doing.
Yes. Okay, now my thank you, but my brush, I have always been saying for years, my one stroke leaf, and people say in the painting industry, you didn't own that stroke. It just happens in one stroke. I'm not calling it mine, but I get a lot of credit for it being my one stroke. But a lot of artists, Debbie, a lot of artists do that stroke. But let me show you what happened. It used to be, here's a straight line and it's a T, right? So I used to do, sorry, I'm shaking here. I used to touch it, pressure, turn slightly, and slide to a tip. Well, then this is my first one stroke leaves. Pressure, turn, stand up to the tip. And then I got better over the years, and I would start at an angle and put pressure. No, I would start here, pressure, stand up, turn. And then so it didn't look like flat. I come from an angle to pull in the stem. But you see how I progressed? Actually, the first thing I ever did at demos at all the shows and the STP shows is I would do, they said this lady does a leaf, a vein, and a stem and without lifting the brush. So they would come just to have me show them that. So let me show you. I'd go push, turn, stand up, lift, pull the stem back, and I would make a whole tree on a big wall in 30 minutes.
That is amazing. I am blown away.
Isn't that fun? Can you see that? So I would do all these model homes, and I had it with a 3/4 inch brush, which I don't like a one stroke leaf with a 3/4 brush, but I would come in there and fill a whole ficus tree on a wall in 30 minutes. That looked like something. Okay, that's sloppy because it's sliding around, but that was what they said that I was in front of the Betty Bird brushes that were in Plaid's booth, and I had a red dress on. It was black and white with red. And they said, hey, that Betty Bird lady over there is doing these leaves. And they had me come out there, and I thought, I didn't even know who Betty Bird was at that point, but I was laughing. But it was a compliment because then they would just come to see me do that leaf. All right. So I progressed. Now this is what when I change, it's mostly because so many people were struggling with it. So that's why this was important to me, the double loader. So let me show you a different, what I'm saying. And when you are on the sheet, sometimes these mantras that I say, push, turn, lift, things that I say will help you. So one of the things is I was doing a straight T. That to me is shining. Oh, no matter what I do, it's shining there. All right, so I'm coming here and pulling down. All right. Let me see if that helps with the white under it. All right. Now I started now doing a crooked T. All right, and we have this for you to practice in here. All right, so a crooked T. Now what happens with that is instead of coming here where I would push down, turn, and that is where the stem comes to, I start at an angle. Now, let me show you what the mistake people make. Well, here's the crooked T. They will still come here and go this way, which is the same leaf. And I don't want you to do that leaf. So this is what I want you to do. All right, I want you to stand up right here and I want you to push down, which it means what color is closest to this tip now? It's the light green. So when I push down with pressure at an angle towards where I'm headed, not straight out, I'm going downward and I stand up as I come down. It's a slider leaf. Then when I pull a stem in it, it does what I want it to do. And so now I've changed it and call it a slider leaf, which happens in one stroke. So push at an angle, stand up and lift, pull the stem, push, lift, and I do most of all my strokes with flat brushes. And I don't like to use a filbert. Many toll painters love a filbert. They love the filbert tip for the pretty flowers that are rounded and for leaves, for this beginning of the leaf. But what's programming into my mind is I have done mass production for so many years. I want to push, stand, lift, pull a stem, push, stand, lift, pull a stem, be really quick. That might not matter to you, but if you're selling your wares and doing glassware and stuff like this that you want to sell, greeting cards you want to hand paint, it is important that I keep the same brush in my hand and then just keep on going. All right. So when I get my students who go, but I like a filbert. I said, then use a filbert. I sell a filbert. It's in my signature set of brushes. We have a filbert. All right. I have angles. Angles are easier to do vines with. Those are good too. All right. And just one more thing in this package before I do some other strokes with you. All right. Is with this, I just want to show you, I did the cabbage rose by building this stroke. So when you're doing this seashell, right? You know why I call this a seashell? Lots of people call it a fan. But if you come right here, guys, and you go like this, it looks like a scallop shell, right? If you do this here, this plastic Smith, it's kind of like a scallop when you come around here. All right. And that's a bad example. Let me load it. All right. I'm going to do the same thing. Load this 3/4 again. I like you to use a 3/4 because you can see your mistakes easier. And if you're blending well, okay? So, and the beauty about one stroke painting, see how messy and muddy that is? I'm going to come pick up more paint. I'm going to go right here. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to scrub and pull and stand up. And then I can do, see like that is a scallop shell, right? So I just want you to see that many times before I tell you to stop. So you see that, you pull down to do a rose stroke. You pull down, you start and come around and slide. All right. But for this leaf, let me show you what happens. All right. With this leaf, I'm going to come back here, flatten my brush again. All right. So I have a couple of little tricks. This is what I do first is I have everybody try this. We scrub, see the seashell, and then we stand up to the point. And then they practice and they still can't do it or they're having a hard time doing it. So then this is what I have you do. I say here are the 2 lines. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. You have to pivot. Right here is a magnet right here. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, scrub and pull. And that light green stays on the magnet. So every time I go out, back, out, back, out, back, steakhouse. All right. And that's a little mantra that you can remember. Okay. Every time we come out, we're going to slide back, out, back, out, back, out, back. All right. So that's the first part of this leaf. Now here is where I'm going to. So I tell you to scrub, stop scrubbing when you see the shell and stand up to that line. All right. So if you still aren't getting it, this is a whole practice thing I do inside the video. This is what I say. All right. Because people go like this. I don't know if you're one of those who scrub, 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 scrub and go, oops, I forgot. They keep going. It's this long leaf and they go, oops. And then they flip the brush and come down. How many of y'all do that? Scrub, 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 scrub. Oops, I forgot, and turn down. All right. So this is what you want to see. You're scrubbing. See, it's a fan. This is what I do in certifications when I go, see, this is not a shell. See how they're straight? Because you forgot to stay where the magnet is. The magnet's in the middle. All right. So then what I want you to do is, as you're seeing the shape of this leaf, whether I'm going out and coming in and out and coming in, my eyes are looking on the outer shape of that leaf. All right. So this is a little trick that will help you, because I always get that student that go all the way and then they flip it the reversed way. So let me show you what happens here. I'm going to put a little bit of white because this is so dark. All right. Are y'all enjoying it? Are you liking it?
Everyone is loving it. They're just loving it. There's a lot of your followers here that have been one stroking for years, and they're loving the refresher course. It's bringing back lots of memories for them. And there's a lot of new people who are just really enjoying learning from you right now. So,
well, you know what the most important thing, Debbie, when I teach is I'm passionate about teaching. I hope people feel that. But my most important thing is if you just get something new tonight that you didn't know, and that it helps you, and practice. It takes a lot of practice. So I painted 4,000 pieces of tinware a month. So I got really good at leaves, because I wouldn't give all my secrets to one person. And that worked for me. All my friends and their kids would come to the warehouse, we'd all work. And I'd say, you paint plums and you paint sunflowers and you paint cherries. And I did all the leaves, because that was my secret, is my leaves. And look, I had to give it away now, because it comes back tenfold and blesses me, right? But that was my little thing. But by the time I did millions of leaves, guess what? I got good at it. All right. So I want you to sew. So see this Y? So I used to just do a V, but then some people do the V way out here. That makes a difference in how the leaf looks. If the V's way, that's not a V, that's a V. All right. Then I decided, after you start doing your shell, you don't know where to go to. I want you to end up at the tip. So then here's your magnet in the middle. There's your Y. All right. So now look what happens here. This is for those who, no matter what they do, they come around, they don't end up with, see how the dark green's on the whole outside? And if you do a maple leaf, the dark green's on the outside, or an ivy leaf. So let me show you. I go right here, 1, 2, 3, I'm ready. I'm pivoting, and I want you to turn the brush all the way around and stand up at the end. And you go 1, 2, and then the third time wiggle. All right. And it makes it really easy. 1, do that a couple of times, turn, you're pivoting in the middle, and the last time you wiggle. You stand up and you pull a stem while it's wet, and that's probably the best leaf you'll do for a long time. All right, so see that? That's just a worksheet that makes it simple strokes, helping you understand the why of why we're doing it this way. All right, so I don't know about you, but don't tell me I have to do something. Tell me why I'm doing it. Then I'm fine with doing that. All right. And thank you for all those who have been around a long time and you still watch, because I just had somebody in tears at my convention and said, I am making so much money. I lost my job. I have people that are commissioning me to come to these senior homes and stuff. And what I've been blown away with, I had learned something I haven't known for 2 years by watching practice strokes, and I'm a certified instructor. And she was in tears saying, it's like, I never knew. And that was the one thing that always bothered me. So that's what I thought. It's really important that if we can all grow, I get better and better. You guys get better and better. The more you paint. I know Debbie can tell you how much she's improved from when she started. And now she's internationally selling beautiful art and designs, licensing. So it happens, but we didn't. When I came into this industry, literally, they thought I fell off a cloud. And while I was here, I'm like, no, I've been working hard too. It's just a lot of years, right? Okay, so see how colors pop on the black? I just think it's really fun. There's lots of detail and fun stuff I could teach you. But what I want to do is I want to do something that I want you, hopefully, that you will try this and paint it and just do it a few times until you feel like you're really good at it.
Okay, I have to interrupt you. They're
Yes.
insisting I tell you they love your glitterific nail.
Oh, can I tell, can I tell you, I just got my nails done, but guess what? I had an accident. I was airlifted out of my studio and I have been trying to grow back this, it ripped my nail totally off. And we've been trying to grow it back for over a year and a half. And it just keeps giving me a fit. So instead of a Band-Aid, I stuck this nail on. So thank you. I just didn't want a Band-Aid again today when I was sharing with you.
And it's much prettier than a Band-Aid. But also, everybody's really loving this. They say they're always learning something new. When you're done with this, you'll have to go through and read the comments because there's just so much love here, Donna.
Oh, thank you guys. Thank you, Debbie, for sharing that. Listen, y'all gonna make me cry. Um, I need you during this pandemic as much as you guys need art. When I lost my daughter at 23, the day before her birthday, she just had no cause of death and just died. But I have to tell you, I poured myself into this. I have so many women who have lost their husbands recently, and they said, just give me this. I just need your words. I need the strokes. I need to bury myself into it. And it does help you guys. It does. It helps you keep going. And I've been really, Donna Dewberry doesn't get real depressed, but you know what? I've got a world of people out there in the industry and other places that give me a really hard time. And it's jealousy, but I don't think it's I don't think it's found jealousy. I'm not trying to do anything but show my thing. And what I found over the years is that I got to let it roll off my back, but I still get depressed. I still, when the family beats you up a little bit, and I have 7 children and their spouses and 29 grandbabies, the grandbabies love me. But sometimes when that happens, we need something to lift us. And I have had some really down days, and I don't even know why. Have y'all ever been that way where I don't know why I'm feeling this way?
Yep.
And it might be politics, pandemic, and news. I just turned it all off and paint. And so
then you forgot hormones too. So that's in there too for some of us.
I know. Okay, so let me show you something. I'm using the chisel of this brush, and what happens is I don't let my guys take and use a liner unless I'm doing some little teeny little vine somewhere. See this? Like a curlicue or tendril. All right. So people want to do, and I do if I'm on delicate stuff, want to use their liner. And the reason I teach, remember what I'm saying, the reason I teach to do one stroke with one brush, blending, shading, and highlighting, making this happen is because there's many reasons, but we can paint faster and get more done. Not that I want you to be fast. You can see over the years, I've gotten better at skilled looks over quick and easy one stroke painting. But what I love about this is this brush will go a long way. You can blend, you can shade that color, you can go and go and go. And because this brush holds more paint than a liner does. This larger brush works better than a 12 because I go this far and I stop. I would use, doing this fine around a wine glass or something, I would use a 12 flat, okay? There we go. And so I OD'd, I put a whole bunch on here.
I have to tell you, this is so funny. I love this question for you. Donna, do you paint in your sleep?
Yes, I have jumped straight out of bed and go, oh, I know what I'm going to paint. Yes, I know. But I have to tell you, I bounce things off my husband and I'll say, oh my gosh, I have to have something. I have to paint for 4 projects for this month. What am I going to do? And he throws out ideas. But when he gives me an idea, it spurs something else. And I don't even do actually what he said, but he created something for me. And he goes, but that's not what I told you to do. And I said, yes, but you inspired me. That's what I needed. All right. So let me show you the scruffy brush. All right, dry. All right, so I'm going to pounce in between 2 colors. Hear that? I like doing this on the foam plate better than the double loader, the scruffy. And people go, but mine's squished in the middle. Did I even say to look inside the middle? No. All right, so then I get my foam plate. Okay, look at this. I'm going to pounce, and that's what I'm getting. That's the look I want. I want white, medium. This is with one-stroke painting. You don't want white and purple. You want white, light lavender, and dark. Okay, you have all the shades. So the same thing with, see, I don't like this look. It's really not that look, but the printer copied it that way. There is a blend from dark, medium, light, and lighter. Okay, so you can see it better on some of these. See the blend? We have a nice blend in here. We have some tips that aren't very pretty. So used to be in my books, because I'd be freaking out about what other painters thought about me. I would take a liner and I'd touch every little tip so I didn't have anything sloppy. But I don't want you to feel that way. I want you to just have an artistic enjoyment of it. Now, let me show, excuse me, we got to keep going and get more. So I'm going to do wisteria. That's also right here. You practice right on this and get your wisteria in here, or lilacs or whatever. This scruffy brush, there's all kinds of detail to show you how to get light on wet, from dark to light. And then you can come back and put all these colors on it. We do all wet on wet the majority of the time. All right. So look right here. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pounce. This is like a Florida tornado, not a Texas tornado. In Texas, they're big all the way to the ground. Oop, that's got a glare. You can't see. All right, let me tip it because I want it to, got too much glow. All right, so I've done, this is what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to turn the white all the way around. Okay, I do that for the centers of flowers. But this, I have the white up and I move around. And I'm doing like a tornado, so it gets small. I tip on the edge of the brush and tip the last little bit of the tail there. Okay. Now, if you over pounce this, oh my gosh, you can't see this at all. If I over pounce this, what happens is it's mud. So your whole job on loading and stroking and pouncing is no mud. I'm going to have all those pretty shades in there. So every time I do this on black, the camera is correcting it so that it brings more light. Okay, so I'm still, the white's up around area. Then I tip and let it trail off the edge. All right, and I do one more. So I'm down, up, down. This is when I'm doing borders. When I used to do borders on walls a lot, I would make sure the border would be as wide as my brush is long. So I'd hold this up on the ladder, hold this up as I walk around. And you make sure, because when most people, they make a little border, it's this wide and you put it up on something and it looks like nothing. So we want it to wander and wave in between here. All right. So now watch.
They're getting some questions on this, Donna.
Yes.
Apparently pouncing is more safe to me. This is the most easy technique that I've seen because I'm not a stroke artist, but I love pouncing and stippling. But a lot of people have a hard time with this.
Yes.
Because they make it it's all like one color or one value, and they're and so can you kind of just review what the problems are with this? And then they also wanted you to review how you open up your scruffy and how you start from the beginning, if you have time.
I'll do that again. All right, guys. I was trying to get that brush that's not very used yet. Okay, so what you're doing with the dry brush, all right, and this is most people's problem because it doesn't tell you how to do this anywhere, except I have that on YouTube now. I pounce the bottom of the basin. Remember, it's natural hairs. Let me get my paper towel. Oh, by the way, here was the brush caddy. I have a clean one. I really do. The brush caddy, the double loaders, the tools are on special for $31.95. And usually just the double load, just for you guys, usually the double loader is $19.95 itself. All right, so now this is what you have to do next. We don't paint with water on this brush ever. So see the ferrule, I'm gonna pinch the ferrule, pinch it, okay? And then I'm gonna fluff it. And that's what you do when it comes out of the package. And between colors, like if I need that paint out of there, I go pounce straight up and down into my water basin. I come out, pinch it, because I want it all dry when I get ready to use it next. I fluff it, fluff, fluff, fluff. Then I take my fingers, make sure it's all fluffed and nice, all right? And there we are, it's ready to use. All right, now when we pick up paint with this, I go in here and I go straight in here if I'm on the double loader, but usually I go to the edge of the white puddle and the edge of the purple puddle, all right, to pick up. Now hear that? All right, that's how we pick up and that's how we paint. Tap, 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 all right? I just smeared that, all right? So now what's gonna happen, like if I'm doing grass or if I'm doing a row of lavender hedge, I can go like this, but instead of doing that, that's not pretty. See that? See, I do have shading, but this isn't a pretty hedge. But look what looks pretty. If I go here and down and up and down and up and get some variety. All right. But look what happens if I stay here too long. I have mud. See the mud? That mud isn't going to look pretty, but this texture where you see like stippling, this like little stipplings of white, like I can come here and stipple a little bit white back on top of this, you know, see how it gives me the color. But I can keep stippling and it turns the mud again. All right. So this is what we want, this pretty looks that we're going to get here. And so I smeared that so I can go right back and touch it. Then as this is drying, does that help, Debbie?
Sorry, I muted myself because my dog was barking. Yes, it does. Because I think what you pointed out is staying in one place and using too much pressure really helped a lot.
Yeah, and so sometimes you don't have much space. So you might want to go, and I find myself using this little teeny brush, which I actually made for small painting, but actually made for centers. This is the 1/4 inch, and it does really good centers for me. All right, so I'm going to keep going unless you have another question. Okay, now next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to pick up these 2 colors. Now, if this goes away from the edge, I go just move it over, okay, and pick up and then work it in. All right, so I pick up a little bit of green, work it in. Let's come over here and grab some white, get some shading. Okay. All right, back and forth. Now, what I love is even while this is wet, I love to slide, push, stand up, back to the chisel. All right, so I want to go back down here so you see this a little bit better. I want to go get more green. Now watch what happens. Chisel. That glare is just too much, isn't it? All right, that's still there. Anyway, chisel, pressure, chisel, stand. Now look what happens. See that lavender? I don't know if you can see the lavender in there. It looks really pretty. And that's the little greens around the wisteria, okay? So let's pick up a little bit more. I'm gonna dip, Get some white. Let's work it in. All right, so I'm going to go right back into here. I'm chiseling, pressure, chisel, slide. All right, and I still have enough paint on here. I'm just going to flatten the brush again. Pressure, stand up, roll the brush, and slide. And so you have this really long, pretty little stem. Now I can also, when I pick this up, I love that it picks up some purples, and my leaf has really pretty purples in it. All right, or it has the pink from the rose, and then pull the stem away from that. So far I've used my scruffy brush, use my 12. I'm going to do my 12 again and do some really pretty rosebuds. All right, so see what's happening. I'm taking my vine, I have some going down, some going up. So this is how people say, I don't know where to put the next thing. I don't know where to put the bud. How do I know where to put the leaves? So I take my hand and I go like this, and I have some going this way and some going this way. Even where my thumb is going, I can go like this and go all down my vine, and I can put a bud here. I'm going to use different color though. Wait a minute. So I can put a bud here, a bud here, and then I come around here. I can put a bud there, also a bud there, also a bud where my thumb is. But I go just like this all the way along. All right. So they're going to go out, out. All right. So that's going to help you. And if I'm doing a border, I'm going from side to side. Okay. So I can come in later and fill in some more leaves. Or I can put a few more in here. See, those had a little bit of pink in them. So the key is every once in a while, pick up a little bit of white and a little bit of more dark green if you need it. And do you see there's blending, shading, and highlighting every one of these. Now the key with one stroke, I said this before, is you can pick up paint again and say, oh, I'm just not happy with that color. I'm going to get more sap green on my 12. And see, this is kind of muddy. So I can go chisel, flat. I call this a long slider leaf. Okay. All right. Now this isn't just the one stroke leaf I was showing you earlier. A slider. Those leaves, say I use maybe a 10 or something in here. And I'll show you because I'm going to put some on the bottom of the roses. All right. So see how pretty those colors are so far. Now this right here is absolutely beginner. You're doing some vines. Oh, when I'm doing the vine, the one thing I forgot to tell y'all, listen to this. When I'm doing the vine, this is the key, is I don't touch, push forward, and then go because I have a branch. Touch, push forward, and go. I want a vine. So two things, you can get out the angle brush, and then you can do it really easily, which in the beginning, I make you do flat brushes. And then you can go ahead and use the angle brush if you absolutely can't do this. But so this is what I tell you. We're going to touch, lift slightly. So I touch, lift slightly. Can you see the front where I lift? Because my handle's straight up and down. Touch, lift, and slide ever so lightly. And you can have really thin little vines. But I also like to move them one way or the other. And sometimes it fans. And then I go back to thin. All right. So it's just touch, lift, drag. All right. Remember, we're strokes. We're doing strokes. All right.
Donna,
Yeah.
we have a question. Do you ever allow the scruffy brush to get totally wet?
Yes, only when I'm cleaning. Only when I'm cleaning.
But never when you're going to use it to paint?
No, it ruins your whole piece. I mean, it'll make a muddy mess because it holds a ton of water and doesn't let it go. So then when you're here, it's going to just run everywhere and make everything very muddy. If I'm doing, no, just say no. Okay. All right, so let's take the 12 flat and let's split in half here. But so you'll see me lots of times say we want 2/3 magenta, 1/3 white. So that's still double loading. That's still one stroke painting where we're picking up two colors and we're working it in. But I've been showing you half and half. So by the time we get to level 2 certs, I'm telling them more always 1/5 this and 3/5 that. You know, I'm saying when I'm picking up color to get, I need it more than half and half. This one, I need 2/3 magenta, 1/3 white. Okay, because now let me show you what I'm going to do on here. I'm going to try to come closer and think my lighting's a little better now. All right, now watch this. Here's my two lines. Remember, we're going to go up and over. All right, from line to line, line to line, we're going to do our U. I'm going to flatten my brush some more. Line to line, we're doing a second U and even a third little piece of one. All right, now these are little tea roses. So I'm going to come and I'm going to have, remember I have one going this way. This is everybody's also new beginner's mistake is they do soldiers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See my fingers? They never move. Instead of going this way and that way, all of the rosebuds head straight one way. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do another bud. And over here, another bud. I just want to remind everybody about the special that I have today is normally $79.95. And only for you guys, we have a special for $59.95 for any of you who are following me with this lesson on Debbie's site. And you have to get that by Debbie for the email, right, Debbie?
Right, and I've got that in there. I have to tell you what's going on because it's really touching my heart right now. One of the gals from New Zealand was saying how expensive it is to ship. And so we have multiple people who are watching volunteering to help donate towards the shipping costs for them. I don't know how Amanda would ever deal with that, but it's got to be the sweetest thing I've ever seen.
You know what? You guys are such sweethearts. We do. We have so many ladies that pay it forward and just do amazing things for others. Um, we had a little sweetheart that doesn't want anybody to know, I'm sure, but she's been in the hospital nonstop, and she had an ambulance tonight after 23 days back to the hospital. She went in and knew some people for multiple reasons. She paid all their motels for 3 different groups at the convention. I mean, like, who could do that? But she did it from her heart. She just wanted to because they touched her and she's new in our groups of one strokers. And I mean, there's such good people out there. So thank you guys for paying it forward and being kind. And all you have to do is tell Amanda what you're trying to do and she'll help it happen. All right, can you see this? Thank you for sharing that, Debbie. Doesn't that choke you up? It just touches me.
Yeah, I really needed to hear that and see this today. Thank you, girls. This is so beautiful, Donna. You're just pulling this out of the air and it's gorgeous.
I just want y'all to see that everything I'm showing you is a beginner right here. This is all beginner. Slide your leaves. Did you hear me say chisel, pressure, chisel? That's all that leaf is. I started up with the chisel and I'm on the chisel like I was doing the vine. Then I pressured, got it wider. The way a leaf happens, and it needs some fullness instead of a just straight line. But if it's green, I tell people, if it's green and this is pink, no matter how much your rose looks, they know that's a pink flower and they know that anything that's green has to be the leaves, right? So I want you to see this little rosebud is a really simple thing to paint. So far, and this is why I tell people, if you don't like something, use the wisteria to cover it up, like a bad leaf or something. I turned around one of my first groups of students ever, and her whole placemat that we had painted for 2 hours was all purple. Because because she didn't like anything she did, and she pounced purple over everything. So in the beginning, beginners really go crazy with the wisteria with the scruffy brush, but that's okay. Now you could stop like this, or you can take one of my smaller brushes. And I thought I had an angle here, but it's not in this set. That it is in the special today, okay? But I will show y'all again in just a minute, real quick, so you know what you're getting. You are getting the packet with all of these. Look at these worksheets real quick before I put them up. We're going to paint all those together in this video, by the way. Where's the video? You have a full video. Besides, you have, this is a great kit to practice with my stroke studies, with what I'm teaching you here. You get 2 of these practice mats that you can put in and practice on the shiny side, okay? And then you're going to get all of these worksheets, which you stroke my actual size right on top of them. All these worksheets are inside this packet. It's a super duper deal. All these are beginner things. I want you to learn how to roll a leaf, how to do ivy. All right. Then one more, where is it at? And then the back sheet shows you all the colors. You get 8 paints. All right. Daisies and 5-petal flowers and hydrangeas. And then you get the set of brushes. All of this is a special for $59.95. You're going to get 8 paints, a floating medium, and you're going to get a sponge that I teach you how to do backgrounds with. And what else? All right, the packet, this, the other brushes, and this. All right, all of that is normally $79.95. I also have this is just a special deal Mark and I are doing for you guys, for Debbie put me on here. So you're going to get all of these tools. The double loader usually is $19.95 by itself. It's got a lid that you dampen and put on there. If you watch this, go back and rewatch it. It shows you. Plus this right here, your brush caddy. All of that together is $31.95. So what you do is just email me. Debbie's got the email address there for you, and tell me which ones you wanted, and Mark will send you an invoice, and then you can pay, and we'll ship it out to you. Okay. So that's our specials. And that's the last time I'm going to show that. I just wanted to put that there. And one of the things that I tell people to do is when they're trying to figure out where to put our strokes, we just use white chalk, cheap chalk, and we draw the vine if you're nervous. I kind of freehand it because I want you to be loosey-goosey, but just use chalk and have fun with that, all right? So, oh, I smeared all this. That's okay. I'm going to fix it. All right. So this is the last thing I do on, no, it's not the last thing, but it's almost the last thing. So I'm going to take and pick up in the smaller brush, and I'm going to push down and put little teeny leaves instead of calyx. Calyx are sometimes really hard, but so these are those little small slider leaves, not these long ones. And I just put 2 or 3 little leaves at the bottom. See, this got paint smeared on it with the kit I was showing you. I just put a couple little leaves at the base, so they don't have to be perfect, just a couple here and there. All right, and I like to do, look, 1 as a point, 2, 3. And the other favorite thing I like to do is do these colors. Like, oops, see, I painted that lavender there too. All right, so I do shadow leaves, and sometimes they're all lavender with floating medium. Now see, I want you to see that if I need some medium, I put the medium here, I dip into the medium, and then I come here and I work it in. Pick up a little bit of white, a little bit of sap. There we go. And that medium makes it go really smooth, like butter. So when I say I want it to feel like butter, it's because we're getting this really pretty stroke here. Next thing I do, remember, is just go to the base of my rosebuds. All right, I smeared that one too, so let me fix that. All right, so up here is the last ones. And then I'm going to show you really quick how to do curly cues. One,
Donna,
two.
would folk art paint, the original folk art paint, would that also work in the same manner as the multi-surface?
Yes, our folk art paint works wonderfully. Um, it doesn't have a sealer, so you can't do glass, ceramic, and other things like that.
Right.
But you can, that's a great way to practice, I tell everybody. And our paint's thicker, is made for the one stroke technique. Oops. But what I tell people, and I don't mean this badly, use the other people's paint to practice and use the real stuff for, and I'm saying that teasingly, don't get mad at me. All right. So we're going to put 3. So I practice with the regular acrylics and I use the multi-surface because paint's been so hard to get a hold of. I use the multi-surface for when I really want to have it. It makes it easier. So I need, for my technique, I can't use a really thin paint. I need a thicker, more bodied paint to be able to get the blending, shading, and highlight because, did y'all hear me say we're wet on wet? Wet on wet's really important with my technique. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to get some little sap on here. Let me get another foam plate. All right, so if I'm showing you any tools that you don't know how to use, go to YouTube to practice strokes. And it's more about teaching you one stroke terminology that you have no idea what I'm talking about. And maybe I didn't say what you do with floating medium, and maybe I didn't say, oh, I'm wetting this. And that's where I teach you all those keys. All right, now do you see what I'm doing? I'm laying this brush down. Now, this is people's mistakes. When I say no water, they think you can do this with floating medium. You cannot do floating medium to use a script liner. But I want you to see that floating medium is the fluff that's inside plaid paint without color in it, without pigment. So I use that instead of water. So see the circle I'm making? I'm making a circle, and every time I come around this circle, I pick up a little bit of that thick paint. Okay, now I have a nice puddle here, way too big. I roll my brush, and then I can see if it's too watery or if it's like the 3 little bears. Is it just right? All right, too pasty or too watery. All right, then I roll here. Now I'm worried that this isn't going to show, so let's see. I'm taking my little finger, and I'm going to make circle, circle. No, it's disappearing. So I need to get some more. I'm going to get some white in there, because on the black, it really needs that. All right, now when I practice this, this is what I want you to do at home. Let's get a piece of paper here. No, where's my paper? All right, so when I practice this, I want you to take your little finger, I want you to hold it like a pencil, and then put it up to your knuckle, straight up and down, like a protractor does. All right, so see my little finger? Even if you practice with water at first, I want you, this is like a fountain ink pen. It just goes down to the tip, and you can go over and over and over. So I tell people, this is what I want you to do. I want you to sit there, and I want you to practice first. Where's that shadow coming from? All right, so let me put that down a minute. I am, oh, there it is. I am going 1, 2, 3. So when I come down with my little finger is taking me where I want to go. So if I'm here, I get steady and my little finger pulls me. You have to practice that to get comfortable with that. So now this is what I want you to see. I'm going to take the little finger and I'm going to do 3 M's, reverse, and do 2 little ones. All right. So I'm going to come down closer, and this is what I do. 1, 2, 3, reverse, and do a couple little ones. Well, this is what I did wrong. I took my fingers across the wet paint. So this is what you have to do. You have to pull it, 1, 2, and I want you to know after you get this set, because look what you're doing. You've got this brush straight up and down. I want you to slowly lower it, and then I want you to close your eyes and keep going. And you can go all that way without running out of paint. All right. So this is another thing that you can do. If you don't feel comfortable with those curly cues and you feel, oh, I'm going to mess up my piece, I want you to see that you could come out of here and just do a wave. You see this wave? I'm going to come here and just do a little wave and be up on the tip of the brush. All right, so one, curl, curl, reverse, reverse, reverse. All right, so this takes practice, but I had my son who has tremors when he was in high school, him and the boys on the soccer team. We had thousands of metal tinware to get to HSN. That's before he knew HSN was anybody. And the guy stood in the parking lot and they made curly cues, like not even thinking twice about it after I taught them. And I said, grown women would die to be able to do those curly cues. So when I went to because when I went to the conventions, they go, oh, do that again, teach us how to do that. And so I didn't know it was such a big thing because even teenage boys did it in my warehouse. So
Donna, what size brush were you using?
a 2 script liner.
And when you're pulling that, are you moving from your shoulder?
Yes, yes. We're not. That's a good. I forgot to say that. Yep. Because this is what most people do. They do their fingers, which that's not going to get this pretty little curl we want. They also, I have a 1 script liner, and people try to do this with a 1 script liner, and they get a thick curl. If you want a thick curl, use the 1. But this one is very pointed and long, and I want you to do not from your fingers, not from your wrist, but my whole arm moves from my shoulder. I bet that's one of my instructors reminding me.
Actually, that was me.
Okay, thank you.
And only because Priscilla Hauser was just on and she was teaching me and telling me I needed to come out of my shoulder and not from my elbow. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, because the same thing when we're doing, let me explain to you. When we're doing that shell for the rose, what happens is if you have your elbow down and your wrist down and you're trying to do that shell, guys, your arm, when you're doing this, you can't get around and do what you're trying to do. But if you're up and your elbow's not down, it's going to be hard. So I even have little 7-year-olds that their little fingers don't get down and all, or I have people that are crippled and their arthritis. So I have them put their arm here, set their arm on top of this. And even when they're doing the curls, they can take the whole arm with them. Or if they're trying to do this shell, guys, if you go 1, 2, 3 and you're down, all right. So this lifts you up and this arm steadies you. So then when you're scrubbing, you're not plastered, so your arm won't make that whole move. Sound good?
Absolutely awesome. And that turned out beautiful.
Isn't that kind of fun? Look, you can go this way. You can go hanging down. I put a string ribbon in here sometimes, or you can have it growing up. But I made it for border this way. And it looks really pretty, like on a hope chest, around a hope chest, or that I used to have a line of wallpaper and we would do that.
Just beautiful. And you're getting all kinds of love right now. Everyone's thanking you. They can't thank you enough. They've learned so much tonight. That's what I love about, I always tell everybody don't always have to focus in on a project. A lot of times focusing in on technique is very important. And look at Donna turned it into a project. Look at how beautiful that is. It's just lovely.
Well, it was just practice, those things that I want you to practice, and you don't have to put it to something, but helping you build something. You feel like you've done more than what my pet peeve was. Don't do a paper pad. I used to say that all the time, but now I do a lot on paper. But we use a lot of floating medium, but we make little portfolios and we see ourselves improve. And the other thing I do, Debbie, I like to share is that people want to do their own designs after they've been painting a while. And I don't have any problem that they buy my packets and do my patterns and sell their work and stuff. But when when they want to go a little bit like creative on their own, I started a drawing and design class. I'm not teaching you to do pencil drawing or colored pencil drawing so you have this perfect picture that looks like it's a photograph, but I teach you where to shade with a stump and the lead and your finger so that then you know where to go shade with your painting. And I have 16, 17, 19 classes where you draw the piece and then you paint it with whatever color, whatever type of paint. And then to see these women grow, oh, I can't draw. And I've always said you don't have to draw to be able to paint, but they have just blossomed in a way that blows me away. So if you ever get a chance, go check it out on my onestart.com. You could just go see the things I teach you from 1 to 16. And by the way, as you do each one at a time, if you end up with 16, you can be certified in it by doing 16 classes. So think about that.
Donna, do you teach the certification or do you have other people teaching your certification now?
Oh, I have thousands of women around the world that teach my technique, and I have certifying elites that do certify, and most people are online certifying right now. They are teaching you online and grading you. And there's a whole process that you can go to. Amanda Dewberry at hotmail.com, my daughter, she's over that whole program. And I do certify, but I like them to do it so I have more time to create. So sometimes we have big groups where right now I'm teaching 10 wonderful women and men who want to become certified as an elite. And it's the first time we've had it as an online elite certification. And I teach you to demo and how to start a business. And then you can become a certifying elite, which are these all over the world. I have masters and Italy and UK and Canada. We have numerous ones, and Taiwan and China, not China, Taiwan and Japan. We have 300 something wonderful, beautiful, perfect painting in Taiwan and Japan, like amazing. So it's just, there's lots of countries, many people. I'm just saying a few, but they're in all kinds of Greece. And it's just amazing that we have this world today. It's a different world than it was when I started. I don't know about you, Debbie, but we've been forced in. I think we have a new life. Our new life might not ever go back to the old life. I miss not being one-on-one with people, but look at this. We could talk to each other and be live. And all my online classes, we visit for 15, 30 minutes before we turn the cameras on and visit. And what's nice is that we are friends before we ever got to physically meet each other and hug each other. And someday maybe do that again, right?
Exactly. Well, I'm coming back on to just say thank you, Donna. We did have one other question. If they want more information about the certification, they can contact Amanda Dewberry at hotmail.com, correct?
Yes.
And
Donna on the road at hotmail.com.
thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Donna. And thank you all for joining us this evening. We appreciate you joining us on a Saturday night and sharing your time with us. So we hope that until the next lesson, which is going to be a lesson where Donna is going to teach us a little bit about drawing. So I'm very excited about that. And so we'll see you next month with Donna. And in the meantime, I hope you will join us for some of the other lessons we're going to have. We have some great things coming up. So good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.